In 75 BCE, the Aegean Sea was effectively a lawless frontier. Cilician pirates operated massive fleets, preying on merchant ships with almost total impunity. Among the travelers caught in this instability was a 25-year-old patrician named Julius Caesar. He was a man already familiar with risk, having spent years evading political purges in Rome. But his journey was cut short when his vessel was overrun. For the pirates, Caesar was a commodity. Their business model relied on capturing Roman nobles and holding them in isolated camps, using the resulting ransoms to fund their operations and fuel the Mediterranean slave trade. The pirates' initial demand was 20 talents of silver. To a common Roman laborer, 1 talent represented a lifetime of wages, but Caesar laughed, insisting they raise the price to 50 talents, a sum worth millions today. Raising that much silver required significant time and a vast political network. Caesar dispatched his servants to various cities to gather the funds, leaving himself stranded on a small island with a handful of attendants. By forcing his captors to increase the ransom, Caesar effectively took control of his own valuation. He had turned his status as a prisoner into a demonstration of personal worth, ensuring that the men holding the weapons were now heavily invested in his survival. For 38 days, Caesar was confined to the island of Pharmacusa. He was isolated, outnumbered, and surrounded by some of the most violent men in the Mediterranean. Yet the dynamic on the island began to shift. Caesar refused to behave like a hostage, instead treating the pirates as if they were his own subordinates. He began dictating the camp's daily routine. If he wanted to sleep, he would send a servant to order the pirates to remain silent, and they obeyed him. He passed his time writing speeches and poetry, and whenever he finished a draft, he would gather the pirates to act as his audience. If they didn't applaud his work or show enough interest in his rhetoric, he would openly mock them, calling them illiterate savages to their faces. Caesar moved through the camp with the total conviction of a man in charge. By the time his ransom was raised, he had effectively replaced the reality of his captivity with a hierarchy of his own making. Once the 50 talents were delivered, Caesar was released. But he didn't head for the safety of Rome. He immediately went to the port of Miletus to mount a counterattack. He raised a private naval fleet and returned to the island to capture the men who had helped him. At this point in his life, he held no official military rank and possessed no legal authority to lead a fleet. Caesar delivered the pirates to the governor of Asia, Unius Silenus. But Silenus hesitated, preferring to sell the pirates into slavery and pocket the profit for himself. Caesar ignored the governor's stalling. He returned to the prison, pulled the pirates out, and crucified them on his own authority. He did grant them a form of relief, because they had bonded during his time on the island. He ordered their throats slit before they were nailed to the crosses, sparing them the slow death of crucifixion. In the span of a few weeks, Caesar had conducted a military operation and an execution while bypassing the official chain of command. The established laws and local governors had simply failed to stop him. Years later, as Caesar climbed the political ladder in Rome, that 50-talent ransom took on a new context. He was now using massive debt as a tool to acquire absolute power. By 61 BCE, his debts had become so staggering that his creditors tried to block him from leaving the city. Without a governorship, his political career and his legal immunity would end. He turned to Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in all of Rome. Crassus had built an enormous fortune through predatory real estate and private fire brigades that refused to work until the owner agreed to sell. Crassus provided an 830-talent loan, roughly $500 million today. This money didn't just pay off his creditors. It secured Caesar's path to the highest office in the Republic. By owing such an astronomical amount, Caesar made himself indispensable. He had tied the financial survival of Rome's most powerful man directly to his own political success. Eventually, Caesar reached a dead end. His legal immunity was set to expire, and a hostile Senate, led by his rival Pompey, ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome to face prosecution. Faced with an official roadblock that meant his ruin, Caesar chose the same path he had taken in Asia decades earlier. He simply decided the rules no longer applied. His crossing of the Rubicon was a calculated act of survival. He was betting that the Republic's institutions would be just as powerless to stop his legions as that governor had been to stop his private execution of the pirates. This single choice to bypass the law effectively ended 500 years of Roman Republican tradition, plunging the empire into a civil war that would replace democracy with the rule of a single man. The Roman Senate had approached Caesar with the same assumptions as the pirates in the Aegean. They relied on the letter of the law as a shield, only to realize too late that those boundaries only exist if both sides agree to follow them.